My beloved child, I saw you standing in the rain, broken, asking me, Lord, why this storm? I heard the trembling in your voice, the ache in your heart, the tears you tried to hide from the world. You thought I was silent. You thought I had abandoned you. But what you didn't see was that I was the one standing in that storm with you. Every lightning strike, every wave that rose against you, I allowed it not to destroy you, but to move you. Because sometimes, my child, I must shake the ground beneath you to guide you back to solid faith. Sometimes, I must let the winds roar to push you toward your purpose. You didn't lose what mattered. I simply removed what would have broken you. The storm was never your enemy. It was my voice calling you home. So listen closely, my dear one, because this pain, this confusion, this season of loss was never meant to drown you. It was my way of saving you. Welcome to Faith Vibes, where hearts find peace and souls are reminded of God's everlasting love. Here, we share divine messages, stories of hope, and words from the heart of Jesus to strengthen your faith. If you believe God still speaks, then you're in the right place. Because here, faith is alive and His word still heals. My beloved child, there were nights when the silence around you was so heavy that even your heartbeat felt like it echoed in the dark. You lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering where I had gone, wondering why life suddenly felt like a storm that would never end. You whispered, Lord, do you still see me? Do you still hear me? And yes, my child, I heard every word, even the ones you were too tired to say. There was a time when you walked with joy, when your prayers felt powerful, when hope filled your lungs like air. But then things changed. The people you trusted began to fade. The plans you made fell apart, and the faith you thought was unshakable began to tremble under the weight of pain you didn't see coming. You tried to understand. You replayed conversations, choices, and memories in your mind, searching for the moment everything shifted. But no matter how much you searched, you couldn't find peace. Because the truth, my dear one, is that sometimes storms come without warning, not to punish you, but to redirect you. And I, your Savior, was already in the storm before you even felt the first drop of rain. You see, life can appear cruel when you measure it through the eyes of pain. You ask me, Lord, if you love me, why do you let me hurt? And I say to you now, it was never about pain, it was always about purpose. Every tear that fell, every door that slammed shut, every prayer that seemed unanswered, I saw them all. They were not signs of my absence. They were signs of my work. When you cried because someone walked away, I knew that relationship would have taken you away from me. When that opportunity slipped through your hands, I knew it was not aligned with your destiny. When you felt abandoned, I was actually pulling you closer to my heart. You thought rejection meant you were unloved, but it meant you were being protected. Because what you called a loss, I called rescue. There were days when your strength ran out, when you smiled in front of people but fell apart when no one was watching. You told yourself to keep believing, but your faith felt fragile, like glass that could shatter at any moment. And still I whispered, keep holding on. You didn't realize that every breath you took in those painful moments was a prayer I received. Every tear was a message that reached heaven faster than any word you could speak. Because I dwell not in perfect prayers, but in broken hearts that still choose to trust me. Do you remember the time you stood outside, looking at the rain? You said, Lord, everything feels like it's falling apart. But my child, it wasn't falling apart. It was falling into place. The rain you feared was washing away what couldn't go with you into your next season. The winds that scared you were blowing away the things that kept you bound. And the thunder you heard? That was my voice, reminding you that I still reign above it all. You see, when the storm came, I didn't run from you. I walked into it with you. I stood beside you when everyone else turned away. I carried you when you couldn't move. You didn't see me, but you felt that tiny spark of hope that refused to die. That was me, alive within you. When the world went quiet, you assumed I was silent too. But silence, my dear one, is not absence. It's the sacred space where I rebuild what was broken. While you were crying, I was rearranging your path. While you were doubting, I was deepening your roots. While you thought nothing was happening, Heaven was moving on your behalf. The enemy wanted you to believe that I had forgotten you, that you were alone, unworthy, and unseen. But I never took my eyes off you, not for a second. When you were tired of fighting, I was fighting for you. When you lost faith in yourself, I still had faith in what I placed inside you. My beloved child, the pain you feel is not without purpose. The loneliness you face is not without meaning. Because before I can raise you, I must first root you. Before I can bless you, I must prepare you. And sometimes that preparation feels like breaking, but it's actually becoming. Think of the seed buried in darkness. It looks forgotten, but deep beneath the soil, life is forming. The seed doesn't understand the weight of the dirt, but it trusts that light will come. And just like that seed, you too are in a season of hidden growth. The soil of struggle is not your grave. It's your birthplace. Yes, the storm hurt. Yes, it made you question everything. But through that very storm, I was shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and closer to me. You don't yet see the masterpiece, but I see it. Every stroke, every scar, every chapter of your story is part of my divine design. I never meant for you to carry this pain alone. That's why I stretch out my hands, marked by nails, to remind you of my love that never fails. The same hands that calm the sea are the hands holding you right now. The same voice that spoke peace to the storm still whispers peace to your heart. So, my beloved, don't despise your storm. It was never sent to destroy you. It was sent to deliver you. You may not understand it today, but one day you'll look back and say, if that storm hadn't come, I would have never found Jesus in the way I did. You asked for strength, and I gave you storms to prove it. You asked for faith, and I gave you moments that required it. You asked for closeness, and I let the world's noise fade so you could finally hear my voice. So when you feel lost again, remember this truth. Even in your darkest valley, even in your deepest storm, you are never unseen. I am with you in every wave, in every tear, in every silence. And though the storm may rage for a while, my promise stands forever. You will not drown, because I am the one who walks on water, and I am walking toward you even now. My beloved child, you thought my silence meant I had forgotten you. You looked at the sky and wondered if your prayers even reached heaven. You felt like you were speaking into emptiness, asking for answers that never came, pleading for signs that never appeared. But what you didn't know was that my silence was not absence. It was strategy. I know how much you long for instant answers. You wanted me to speak loudly, to show you a miracle right before your eyes, to end the storm with a single word. But if I calmed the sea too soon, you would never discover the strength I place inside you. If I removed the mountain instantly, you would never learn that faith can move it. And if I spoke too quickly, you would never learn how to recognize my voice in quiet. There's a purpose in the pause, my dear one. The moments when heaven feels still are often the times I am working the most deeply. When you couldn't feel my hand, I was still guiding your path. When you couldn't see the light, I was still building a way out of the darkness. When you thought nothing was happening, the foundations of your miracle were being laid in silence. You prayed for peace, and I allowed the storm, not because I didn't love you, but because I knew peace that depends on calm circumstances will never last. True peace is found not when the waves stop, but when you learn that I am with you in the boat. Remember when my disciples cried out in fear, saying, Lord, don't you care that we're perishing? And I stood up, rebuked the wind, and said, Peace, be still. That same authority, the same peace, still speaks over your life today, because I am still the same Jesus. Yesterday, today, and forever, my silence has never been neglect. It's been your classroom, a sacred space where I teach faith that doesn't depend on feelings. Faith that holds on even when you don't understand. Faith that says, even if I don't see the way, I will still trust the one who leads me. You see, faith isn't built when you have every answer. It's built when all you have left is me. And in that moment when everything else fades, when people walk away, when plans crumble, when you have nowhere else to turn, that's when your heart finally begins to recognize the sound of my footsteps. Not in the thunder, not in the earthquake, but in the gentle whisper that says, I'm still here. You looked at your delay and thought it was a denial. But I say to you now, delay is not denial. It's divine timing. I was preparing not only your blessing, but also your heart to receive it. Because I never give small gifts, I give eternal ones. And for something eternal to be planted, the soil of your soul must first be ready. The pain you felt was not a punishment. It was pruning. I was cutting away what could not stay, habits, relationships, fears, and distractions that would have choked your future. I was refining your spirit through fire, not to destroy you, but to purify you like gold, because every great purpose is forged in the furnace of patience. When you thought I was taking things from you, I was actually making room for something better. When you thought I was closing doors, I was redirecting you to ones that lead to your destiny. You asked me, why did you take this away from me? And I whisper now, because it would have taken you away from me. My dear one, I see how hard it has been for you to trust. You've carried wounds that no one else knows. You faced disappointments that made you question your worth. But you must understand, your worth has never been measured by what left, who stayed, or what happened. Your worth was sealed the moment I stretched my arms on cross and said, "It is finished." Every tear that fell in silence, I caught it. Every prayer you whispered through shaking lips, I heard it. Every time you felt like giving up, I strengthened you without you realizing it. That sudden peace that came out of nowhere, that small spark of hope you couldn't explain, that was me. I was holding your heart together when you thought it was falling apart. You see, I don't only perform miracles in loud moments, I perform them in stillness. The seed grows silently underground before it ever blooms. The baby grows quietly in the womb before the world ever sees it. And just like that, I was forming something divine within you in the hidden places, something only time and trust could reveal. You thought the storm was a curse, but it was actually a classroom. In every gust of wind, I was teaching you to bend without breaking. In every flash of lightning, I was revealing truth you had ignored. In every wave that crashed over you, I was baptizing your heart in faith stronger than fear. I know you wanted the pain to end quickly, but quick fixes don't build deep roots. And I want you deeply rooted in me, not just touched by faith, but transformed by it. Because when the next storm comes, and it will, you will stand firm, not because the wind is weaker, but because your roots are deeper. So don't misinterpret my silence as distance. I have been closer to you in the stillness than I ever was in the noise. You didn't need to chase my presence. You already had it. You didn't need to shout to reach me. Your heartbeat was loud enough for heaven. The same way I stood beside Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire, I've stood beside you in your storm. You just didn't see me because I was working behind the smoke. When you thought the fire would consume you, I was refining you. When you thought you were breaking, I was molding you. And when you thought it was over, I was just beginning. My beloved child, the silence you fear is often the stage where I perform my greatest miracles. When you cannot hear me, trust that I am still speaking. When you cannot see me, believe that I am still moving. Because I never stop working for those who love me. Every unanswered prayer, every tear, every delay, all of it is part of a divine pattern far greater than your understanding. So rest now. Breathe. The silence does not mean I am gone. It means the artist is still painting. The potter is still shaping. The Father is still loving. And the Savior is still saving. Hold your peace, my child, because even when heaven seems quiet, your miracle is already in motion. My beloved child, look around you now. The winds that once roared have begun to whisper. The waves that once threatened to drown you have stilled. The clouds that once covered your sky are slowly parting, and through them, light begins to shine. This is not just sunlight, this is revelation. The storm you feared so much was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to reveal me. Do you see it now? Every tear, every loss, every unanswered prayer. They were threads I was weaving into something beautiful. What looked like chaos was actually design. What felt like delay was preparation. And what you thought was the end was, in truth, the beginning of something sacred. You see, my child, you asked me to save you, and I did, but not in the way you expected. You wanted me to remove the pain, but I chose to redeem it. You wanted me to calm the storm around you, but I calmed the storm within you. Because true peace doesn't come when circumstances change. It comes when your heart learns to rest in my presence, no matter the season. When you cried out, Lord, why did you let me lose everything? I was whispering, because you were clinging to what was temporary, while I was preparing you for what is eternal. When you asked, why did you take them away? I answered, because I saw what you couldn't, that not everyone is meant to walk with you to the places I am taking you. When you said, Lord, I can't take another step, I reminded you, you don't have to, because I am carrying you. The storm did not come to end you. It came to end the version of you that relied on everything except me. You had to lose what you thought you needed, so you could finally discover that I am all you ever truly needed. I took what was fragile, and I made it faithful. I took what was wounded, and I made it whole. I took what was broken, and I turned it into beauty, because I am the God who turns ashes into purpose and pain into power. You see, when you walk through storms with me, you don't come out the same. You come out transformed. The fear that once paralyzed you becomes faith that moves mountains. The tears that once fell in sorrow become testimonies that heal others. And the heart that once felt shattered becomes a very vessel through which my light shines brightest. Now, look back, my dear one. Do you see how far you've come? The moments that once made you cry are now the moments that make you stronger. The places where you thought I had abandoned you are now the places where my presence is most alive. You didn't just survive, you grew. You didn't just endure, you were refined. And now you carry a strength that was born in the storm, a faith that can't be shaken by the waves anymore. I know there were times when you asked, Lord, where are you? And now you see, I was in every detail. I was in the stranger who offered a kind word when you were hurting. I was in the quiet peace that wrapped around you when you thought you couldn't go on. I was in the lessons hidden in the pain, in the love that refused to let you go, in the hope that kept flickering when everything else went dark. I was there, always there, not above the storm, but inside it with you. You prayed for me to stop the rain, but I let it fall long enough for you to learn how to dance in it. You asked me to remove the thorns, but I let them stay long enough for you to discover the strength of your roots. Because I was not just saving your situation, I was saving your soul. I was building a faith that no storm could ever destroy again. My beloved, every moment you doubted, every time you thought it was over, I was whispering to your spirit, trust me, I am not done. And now, you stand in the very place the enemy said you'd never reach. You made it through, not by your strength, but by mine, not by your understanding, but by my grace. For my power is made perfect in weakness, and my glory shines brightest in your surrender. Now you know, storms are not punishments. They are passages. Through them, you meet me more deeply than ever before. Through them, you discover peace that no world can offer. Through them, you realize that my love never wavers, even when your faith does. So when the next storm comes, and it will, don't fear it. Remember this one. Remember how I carried you through it. Remember how what once terrified you became your greatest testimony. Because now, you are not who you were before the rain. You are stronger, wiser, softer, and filled with my spirit. And if the winds ever rise again, lift your eyes to heaven and say, Lord, I've seen you calm the storm before, and I trust you to do it again. Because you and I, my child, have walked through the valley together, and you have learned that my grace is enough. You are not the same person who entered the storm. You are the person who found Jesus in it. And that is the miracle. That is the purpose. That is the reason for every wave. Now, step forward in peace. Carry the lessons of the storm with you. Use them to lift others who are still fighting their battles. When you see someone drowning in their pain, tell them what I taught you, that the storm is not proof of God's absence. It's the place where His presence is revealed the most. So rest, my beloved one. The rain has done its work. The thunder has spoken its truth. And the rainbow that follows, that's my covenant, my reminder, my promise, that every storm has an end, and every ending leads to a greater beginning. I did not let you walk through the storm to leave you weary. I led you through it so you could learn how to soar. Because after every storm comes clearer skies, stronger faith, and deeper love. So lift your head, my child. Your story isn't over. It's being redeemed. And one day, you will thank me, not just for the calm, but for the storm itself. Because you'll finally see, the storm wasn't sent to destroy you. It was my way of saving you. And remember this truth forever. Even when you can't see it, God is still writing your story.